Hey guys, my name's Chris, and this is Financial Fitness, and this is my good buddy, the Economic Ninja. He's one of my most favorite people on the earth.
Hey everybody, how you doing? What's up, Chris?
Man, I just want to grill you. I just want to give you some questions, and there's actually
I'm well marbled. Yeah, I'm well marbled actually this time of the year. So if you want to grill me, go ahead.
All right. So I've got some questions on the deflation, inflation, transitory hyperinflation that I want to run down real fast. And I wonder if anything's changed in what you've been thinking.
Are you talking about the dollar whippet theory?
Yeah.
All right, sweet. Let's do it. Some things have changed. So I was talking the other day, and a lot of people have had a hard time wrapping their minds around this because I talk about the theory or the facts actually that deflation, we don't go from inflation to deflation in one fell swoop. We don't just, somebody doesn't turn the switch off and goes, I've had enough inflation. Let's turn on the deflation. What happens is it flows through different sectors of the economy. And what I've found in the past, especially in 2006, leisure and, vacation and leisure was the first industry to get hit. Now we have a new industry that's going to get hit really early, and that is subscription-based industries like, honestly, YouTube, premium services like, Pandora, things like that, Disney. We're already seeing those premium services that you pay per month, Hulu and all that kind of stuff. Their numbers are starting to get a little stale. They're starting to top, or they're not getting the growth they expected, especially Disney Plus. Now that could be for a myriad of reasons, some of which I completely agree with. But the point is that is the first thing. It's the low-hanging fruit that people cut out of their budget when prices are going up.
Okay, that's a great analogy. That's the first simple things you can cut off first. Hey guys, I wanted to interrupt this video to make sure you are personally invited to Denver on January 8th at 5 p.m. We're going to have a little get together. It's going to be announced 24 hours before it starts. Joe Brown with Heresy Financial, everybody loves him. The Economic Ninja, Jim Lewis, Rob Keynes with Gold Street Silver, yours truly with Financial Fitness, and Dave Kranzler with Investment Research Dynamics are just to name of the few that are going to be there. I just got word earlier that Nobody Special Finance is going to be there, and the analyst is going to be there as well. So we're having a meetup. We're just going to hang out, make some cool content, and it's going to be fun. I hope I see you there. Hit the like button, subscribe, because I'm going to keep these inflation talks coming. Have an awesome day. Let's keep going.
Exactly. And that is deflation. Now, a lot of people, they say they're really confused, especially when you talk about inflation or deflation. They talk about it has 100% correlation to the money supply. If you have a lot of money flowing in, you have inflation. If you have a lot less money flowing, then you have deflation. That's actually not true. The Oxford Dictionary describes the definition in multiple different ways. One is the monetary. Yes, inflation is an increase generally of the money supply, leading to generally lower, higher prices. Sorry, I don't have the definition in front of me. But it also defines the emotional side of it. And it's talking about to inflate or deflate, like a bubble blowing up and being deflated. That could be an emotional thing too. And what people need to understand is all economics is based off of human emotion. There is nothing else at the core, the most basic fundamental fact of the economy and economics. It's human emotion that drives it or just dives it. And so the point is that when people perceive that there is a problem, they start to shelter themselves and get close. We talk about the fetal position in emergency services. I used to talk to a bunch of firemen, and they talk about when injuries get really bad or people are in a lot of pain, they buckle in. They get into that fetal position because that's the most comfortable position to be in, because it's quite frankly how we came into this earth, and that's what people do financially. And so the low-hanging fruit is, oh man, something's wrong. Things are expensive. I need money. I don't have the extra money, especially in this day and age. With high unemployment, so, okay, what am I gonna do? Well, I'm going to get rid of the Netflix account, or I'm not going to go on that vacation. Sure. And that's the deflation I'm referring to. And what people have a hard time seeing is that I'm talking about in real time. And then we're going to see it in Q4 and Q1 2022 earnings. I really believe that the Q4 earnings are going to tell a lot, especially sort of abysmal or really bad retail sale numbers.
Wow. So this, can you relate this to the 70s? What happened in the 70s when, we kind of had a stagflation situation because prices are high and people are still holding on to money. It was kind of a stagnant environment, except probably worse.
Man, I wish I was older in the 70s. I was really young. I was actually on a big wheel. It was a chips model. So I had the Poncherello model of the big wheel. I remember it like it was yesterday in 1979. I was so stoked to have that. But I didn't live through it. I wasn't old enough to really see the emotion.
Right.
That's why I always have to compare it to the late 90s or 2006, because I was an investor at both of those times. Now, the one thing I will say, though, is the low-hanging fruit that we have today did not exist. Travel and leisure wasn't as it was today. It was a luxury in the late 70s, be flying on a plane. Shoot, people dressed a lot nicer on planes. If you look at how much a plane ticket cost back then, compared to, daily or the average income, it was more expensive. It was for wealthier people, right? A lot of people traveled by bus if they had to, or they went on road trips back then. So we don't see the hit, because what's interesting about the last 20 years is a lot of this travel and leisure subscription-based services are all done on debt. I mean, how many people are literally paying with a credit card these days for a lot of their expenses, and some of it slips through the cracks? Not everybody is paying off their credit card debt every month, which means that a lot of this is fueled by debt. So that's what's really interesting. So it's really hard to compare it to the late 70s. Also, remember too, in the late 70s, we had the ability, Paul Volcker and the Federal Reserve had the ability of spiking interest rates, which they do not have anymore, because if they were to take the rates, and literally we're talking in the Fed changing rates about maybe close to 1%, 1 point this whole next year, I still think that's catastrophic. I don't think we have too much debt to be able to service it. So back then he was able to spike rates, and he didn't do it a ton. I don't even think he doubled the rates, the Fed funds rate. But it sounds really impressive because we saw mortgages hit like 18.75%. But my point being is that we don't have that ability now. Now, I do believe it's going to happen, and I believe it's the bond market that's going to force the issue, and the Fed's going to be out of control. And that also makes me laugh when people go, "You have no idea how in control they are." I'm like, "No, you're nuts." I mean, if they were in control, I'm going to tell you right now, 2006 and 2008 wouldn't have happened, because Ben Bernanke was trying to make it, because it looked bad on them. They were saying, "Nope, don't worry, we've stemmed the tide. Mortgage-backed security issue is fixed. And by the way, houses can't drop all at once." In the entire country. And he was proven wrong. And I don't care who's paying him $100,000 to go sit and have speeches. They're overpaying, because you're just listening to a dude you might as well pay Jim Cramer to come talk at your bar mitzvah or your garage sale, or,
right.
a party. I don't have a good word for another type of party.
Well, I wasn't alive in the 70s either. And so I've been polling my uncles, my grandfather, to try to get a grip on what it was like. And it must not have been that bad, because I think when it started to kind of get in the early 80s, I guess inflation started kicking up. Paul Volcker raised interest rates. He crushed it. And then life went on. I don't think it's going to be like that this time.
Well, life didn't go on, actually. That's actually an interesting point. So first off, it hammered real estate. The values of real estate plummeted and sales stopped, because people couldn't afford whatever the price of real estate was the day before old Paulie did that. It dramatically dropped because sales stopped, because people couldn't pay that price and a higher mortgage interest rate. You have to remember too, that was a ripple effect that I personally believe led to the S&L crisis. Now, there's a lot of things, deregulation, that happened after 87, but I believe there was a lot of deregulation happened before that was sort of behind the scenes, things that that allowed that free flowing of capital. Reaganomics was technically, on the most basic way of explaining it, the opening of just crazy amount of spending available. The debt market opened up, and he went from more of a savings posture to a spending, and that led to this rampant, speculation. And then 1987, we obviously had the S&L crisis, and man, that just hammered stocks and hammered pensions, and it caused all kinds of problems.
Okay, so you're thinking severe stagflation after this, after the bubble pops, possibly some severe stagflation for a little while, and maybe the money printer later.
Yeah.
You know?
So if I'm correct, don't have the definitions behind me in a fancy editor.
When the economy is growing and the unemployment rate is low, inflation tends to appear for the simple reason that you have more money chasing goods. The same way, you usually don't have high inflation when the economy isn't doing well and unemployment is high. Stagflation represents an exception. During the 70s and early 80s, countries such as the United States found themselves in a peculiar predicament. 1. Their economy was stagnating. 2. Their unemployment rate was quite high. 3. They had high inflation. This strange phenomenon ended up being called stagflation.
Stagflation, I believe, is inflation with high unemployment, correct? I think that's so. The funny thing is that the unemployment numbers are flat out lies right now. I just saw a news story that the government came out boasting how low the unemployment, these record unemployment numbers, and they're completely high because I go to my local restaurants. I know that I have friends that own businesses all over, and this is all over the country. We know there's a fact that they have changed the way that they record those unemployment numbers. So the sad thing is we could be in stagflation and not really know, but
right. It's hard to tell with all this money printing.
It is. Tell. So you've got to go by what I like is those quarterly reports that come out and start with the subscription base. Start with, in the 70s, I guess the low hanging fruit would have been a magazine subscription or a newspaper subscription, even though that was the only real way you get news back then. There was news channels, but it wasn't like you had CNN because they definitely came in to save everybody.
Yeah. People are trimming the fat.
Exactly.
I get it. Well, where do we go from here?
You need to prepare. End of story. And you don't need to go crazy. Don't lose your mind. If you have the ability to save money, take that savings. And I personally, this is what I do. It's not advice for you, but I split into 3 bags. I have a cash bag. I have a crypto bag. I have a precious metal bag. A 4th bag I'd like to add is a little bit of canned goods. Why wouldn't you want to have just an extra couple months of food? Not that you think there's a tsunami coming, but hey, honestly, I used to tell people this 2 years ago. I would go around to my community groups and I was warning people 2 to 3 years ago about all this stuff that was coming. And I said, if you want to beat the stock market, buy a can of beans right now. You'll beat the stock market averages. And gosh darn, it's happened on a percentage basis. So you don't need a tsunami to save money and be prepared right now. So that's what I think we should do.
Yeah, that's awesome, man. That's you guys, everybody, all of my subscribers pretty much follow you anyway. But if you don't follow the Economic Ninja, you're really missing out because this guy, he's a visionary. He has got a gift. And he's got some coffee.
A lot of McDonald's coffee in me.
And everybody likes the Bro Hawk.
Woo! Thanks, man. Appreciate it.
So anyway, I guess having a little food and I like your 3 bag idea.
Yeah.
Gold, silver. How much cash would you prefer to keep? And I'll let you go.
I'm super equal on between cash, crypto, and precious metals right now. That's what I look at. However, I will say this: if you really start to see deflation start rearing its ugly head, it will run for a little bit. This Federal Reserve is not going to act real quick and start printing money because they want you begging for the stimulus. They want you begging for the money printers to fire off because it's literally one of those hold my coffee and watch this, because what comes next will be hyperinflation in this cycle. It will be different than every other cycle we've seen, economic cycle in our country in the last 100 years. It will blow you away. And it's not going to be Venezuela. It's not going to be Turkey, but it's going to impress you. And the reason why is because we still are the reserve currency of the world, but we won't do it. There's 2 things you can watch. And I'm glad you made it to the end of the video because these are the 2 most important things to watch. You want to watch for deflation. You want to watch auto sales plummet. You want to see real estate sales really severely slowing. There's a big problem. If you see gourmet cuts of meat slowing and being marked down because they're still on the shelves, the higher end people are stopping their spending there, or they're slowing it severely. The second thing you want to look for is governments that are the narrative, the deflation word coming out in the news. They say that by the time you hear it in the news, it's too late, and it's true, but it's not too late. You actually have weeks, maybe even a couple months to prepare. And that is when you start to really go to cash. because as people get afraid, prices plummet. So if there's goods that you want to buy that you could buy with dollars, that's when you buy them. This is not an investment moment. This is, I want my Lambo. That's when you buy it. I've already had 2 times where I could have bought my dream Ferrari for about $40,000. Now they sit around about $180,000 in like really good shape. But I've seen that's a high end, like normally 110, 120, but I could have bought it for 40 grand. That's deflation. And so that's when you go a little heavier with cash. And I wouldn't sell my other bags because you don't know what's going to happen with them. I would just, instead of putting extra money into the crypto and precious metals, I would dive more into the cash, because even crypto and precious metals in a deflationary scenario will go down in price.
Yeah. And I've been there so many times and not have the cash to get in when it's low, ride that bus all the way down the bottom and you have to wait for it to come back. If we can, because this crash it's already noticeable. It feels like we're kind of starting to get in it as we speak, so maybe taking profits along the way on your precious metals and crypto, and then be ready for cash later.
That's one aspect. You just really want to make sure. We just don't know how long the inflation, the head of this inflation snake, because the low hanging fruit, like we said, is going to fall off into deflation, travel and leisure, subscriptions. Who care about those things? We're not trying to get deals on those. You don't know how long the real estate, the food, things like that part of the snake is going to roll. So just remember that, but Chris is right. You want to take some profits, but what are you doing with those profits? Are you paying off debt? Are you holding on to your cash? Those would be good things. And a win is a win. Even if your investment doubles the next day and you're like, oh crap, I could have held on. You don't know. So just every time you succeed and you're able to pull out more fiat dollars and then do something good with it, like pay off your house. That's really important. That's the thing.
I was thinking about a generator. I'd like a generator to run my whole place. And if I could sell one of the assets that run up for some kind of security like that, that would really be worth it to me.
See, that's cool. And it's got a purpose behind what you'd want to do with it. So that's a good idea.
Yeah. Just something. It doesn't have to be another investment, but if you're paying off good debts and buying things that matter, that's where you want to be. You want to be in hard assets.
Yeah. Yeah. I completely agree.
Well, I can't wait to see you in Denver, brother.
Me too. I'm ready. Let's do this. It's going to be cold. Yep. It's going to be fun.
Well, thank you for coming on.
Right on, man. We'll talk to you later.
Later.